Okay, so now we're gonna decorate this cute little guy, the child. Now, the first thing you wanna do is to make sure that when you cut your piping bag for your green piping consistency, so that's the thicker one that we use as an outline, I'm gonna cut it really small. Now you can always make it bigger, but you cannot make it any smaller. And this is also a good time if you're a kiddo and you have an adult, to maybe have the adult cut it. Yeah, that's good. Because I'm gonna use this to outline the green, but I'm also going to use it later for some details. So I wanna make sure that when I go to do those details, it's not too thick of a line. So the first thing I'm gonna do for this guy is the eyes. Now the eyes are super important because that's what makes that expressive little face. For these, we're gonna go really slowly so that we get the shape we want. Once I get the outline, I'm gonna just kind of squeeze. And so you can see it's kind of three-dimensional. And I'm just gonna use an up and down motion because this is a little thicker icing so that it won't spill out of the edges that I want it to do. And I just use my little stick. You can use your cocktail stick or however, and then it's a nice eye. He's got those very bulbous eyes that stick out a little, and that's just so much of who he is. I mean, I don't actually know who he is because I haven't seen it yet, but my kids, that's who he is on the memes. So I'm going kind of this, I wouldn't probably hold it like this, but I want to be able to see and not get in your way. So just go very slowly. I know most of the videos you see are sped up, so seeing it actually slow is weird, but it's really important. Again, we're this weird, but you can see how even though it was weird on the other side, just that up and down motion is all that it takes to even it out and make it a nice rounded eye. And now anywhere that I still kind of need to move the icing, I can do that very gently. And I believe, yeah, everybody that ordered these add-ons with Baby Yoda did get them outlined, so you're gonna find that that's super helpful. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back in with icing, and I am going to go over all of my outlines with marker that I did with marker. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the edges here of his little top part of his coat. And I'm going to do that. Then he's got his arm, which goes right down into his coat. And then all the way across, back up here. And then the little placket in front. So now he's also got in brown his little sleeves. So that will be brown. And this will be the little muff. Okay, so then I'm going to come in with my green, and I'm going to do the face first because the ears will connect to it. This is so odd to do while I'm not looking. There we go. And then the ears follow the cookie. I didn't include any lines where everything is just following the edges of the cookie. I'm not in the way, I am in the way. Sorry, I'm gonna be in the way. Just goes around the edge of the cookie. And we go really slow just to get that good edge. So I'm going to come back through with my piping consistency that we just used, and I'm going to add in like the parts of his hand. So you kind of squeeze a little heavy, and then you're going to squeeze a little heavy here again. See how it's kind of two fingers that stick out from over there. I'm going to come back with my stick because they're a little bumpy, kind of like we did with the eye. And just smooth those tops out a little bit, just so it looks like he's got little hands or fingers coming out. And then on this side, he's got kind of his fingers raised a smidge, but we're just kind of giving the impression of his hand, not like drawing his hand perfectly. My goal with this is just that anybody that wanted to do this, whether you have cookie skills or not, can kind of make this happen. And so it's going to be super easy. So now I'm going to take my flood consistency and I'm going to fill in a few places. For Yoda, you want to make sure to give that texture and dimension that you are only filling in places that aren't right next to each other. So I'm gonna get this here, and I'm gonna get this up here, and I'm not being perfectly precise at this time. I am just putting it in, and then I'm gonna come back and arrange it with my cocktail stick. And I like to kind of poke in there just in case there's any bubbles so that it doesn't look funny when it dries. Sometimes these small spaces, they want to get little divots in them. And now for this, it's not such a big deal because we're gonna come back with some texture. For other things it might be more. So then I'm going to come back here with his ears, filling in around that spot where his pink inside of the ear would be. And I'm kind of moving the icing over my lines just a smidge so that you don't see that like outline. Now for your kits, I gave you a better pink, super pale, but I didn't make that up just for myself for the video. So if you are using a kit, your pink is better, it's not so bright. And if you are using the cutter and following along with my video just to get ideas, normally I would not use this pink, but I had it on hand. So it is that, you can see how it's really bright. And so the next thing I would do is I would do the other ear, and then you're gonna let it dry. It just needs to crust a very short time, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes for Colorado. If you're farther away, if you've got more humid climate, you might need to have it crust a little bit longer. And then the next thing after it dries, you're gonna fill in this piece right here. And then you can come back and do this one as well. This one's important that we do fairly soon to next because it will be part of the texture that we're going to get. So here is one. I forgot to do that side bit, so I just did it. I forgot to come back for him there. Oh, and you can see, like, when I was messing around earlier, I gave him a little bit of fleck in his eye. I didn't have a white nearby, so I did pink just so you could see what it looks like. But while it's still wet, you can just take a little bit of icing on the tip of your cocktail stick and just kind of stick it in there. Or you can do the same thing once it's already dry. If you're already here and it's dry, you can just kind of come back and just very gently kind of give yourself it's not dry, so I'm being super careful. So you can just kind of give yourself a little eye smear if you would like that little flash in his eye. So I am going to come back then and do this part that I didn't do before. Here. And the reason why we let these things dry in between is because it gives it that texture and depth, and you can really see the difference once the whole thing is done. And then that is just a bit of sleeve in brown, and you will see how that is different and differentiated from top and bottom in just a moment. I'm a little close to the edge there, so just kind of scrape along it a little so that I don't lose that separation. So now this is going to need to dry before I can go do the side ones. And so what I'm going to do is come back through with his face. And I'm just going to come right up next to, that's why it's nice to have a real small point here. While I'm coming up next to his eyes. I don't want to get it too thick next to his eyes because I really want his eyes to stick out a good bit because they are those kind of goggly eyes. And you can also come back in here a little thinner and then use your cocktail stick to move it closer to the edge. And there we go. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do, just because especially with doing it as a video, it's hard to see where I'm going. I don't want to overdo. So I'm just kind of stirring to the edge. And then I'm just going to very carefully move it. Move the icing where I need it to go. He's coming to life a bit. So one of the things about him is he has that texture on his I guess cloak. So I am going to take just squeeze out onto a plate a little bit of white and a little bit of the brown. Because it's like a khaki color, but it's a really light khaki. Much lighter than what we're looking at. Yeah, it's closer to it. Might even be less brown than that. And everything is gonna dry darker on the whole with royal icing. So you want to aim, if you're mixing colors, for just a smidgen lighter than you would need. I'm just gonna add a little bit more white for it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use our paintbrush that was in your kit, and we're gonna make the texture of that fleece on his jacket edge. So I'm grabbing my paintbrush, and this you can come back over it multiple times to get what you want. So start with like less on your paintbrush and see kind of how it's going on. But I'm going to kind of tap, 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 and you can see as we fill it in, that fleece appear. And our goal is you want to like lift it up and down. We're not painting and we're not putting the lot on, but that lifting up and down motion gives us like those little pokies kind of that end up looking like the fuzziness of fleece. And so I'm gonna just keep going over this until I have filled in the entirety of this piece. This is the cuff, and then this cuff is also fleece. So I won't make you watch me, but it's just that same motion the whole way through. So I'm going to do that, and then I will come right back. Okay, so I have done that, and now you see he's got a little fuzz on him instead of just brown. And you can also see that I made a little boo-boo. It happens. You can scrape it off and fix it if you would like, but you don't have to. You know, he's having a rough go of it at the time, so you never know. Once this is dry, which it is not quite for me, but I'm going to forge ahead just so you can kind of see as it comes together. My opening is a little bit big, so I am not going to mess with trying to pipe all the way into there. I'm just going to kind of move the icing a little bit to get those edges where I want them. And then the same thing on the other side. Whoops. So my goal is to make sure that anybody that wants to do this, even if you are not a decorator or a kiddo or anything like that, that somebody that just wants to have one of these cookies and wants it to actually look like the character, this should be pretty easy for you to do. There's nothing in here that is too major. It's gonna drive me nuts. I thought I could live with it. I can't. So I'm just adding a little bit of icing there. And smoothing it with my, it's kind of that back and forth motion. Oh my gosh, he is so cute. So cute. So one of the big things about him is that he has all of these like really wonderful expressions. so we're just gonna add a couple lines to him, and we wanna look for shapes that really express who he is. So he's got this little frown thing, and it's nice because it goes from where it bumps up here to where it bumps up here. So we're just gonna add a little, we're gonna come back with outlining as well. I think he looks a little bit better with outlining. And we're gonna add his little sad frown and continue it to line his face. So all of your little joins and connections aren't noticeable. And then under here, he's got another little line for his mouth because he's judging you. And he's got this cute little nose right here too. You could do. And then I'm going to come back over here. Oh goodness, everything is devolving. If you hear the puppy who went in with my son to sleep in his bed. He's like, whoa, goodness. Sorry, try and do this while you can see, but also so I can see. And just a little over here. And see, we just did tiny little lines. Does not have to be a complicated, like, exact replica of him to really get him. And then you are welcome to put, because he's kind of bumpy up here. So there's like 4 lines, so you can put them here. They're just little bumps. Oh my god, he's so cute. I can't stand it. So, oops. I'm getting icing all over myself and I don't notice it because I'm wearing gloves. So one thing about this, also keeping separate these little parts, is that you can also come back and outline here. Now mine is kind of thick, so it might end up being a little too, cause see, like that's how big my line is. So I'm gonna probably want to stretch it just a smidge. And come back with it really simply. Just to be a coat. These are the moments when it would be good if you had made yourself a very small opening, because then you can come back like we did up here with these little tiny lines of detailing, and then it's a lot easier. But I don't want to change piping bags because you are not going to be able to change piping bags either unless you are doing it at home and you're a cookie person. And so, but my kit, folks, you've got what you got. Okay. And then I'm just going to delineate here the difference between sleeve and cuff. Just a smidge. So I'm basically following lines that we've already used. Nothing nothing crazy. And I'm gonna let the fluff go straight up to him. But I think I'm really happy with the little dude. I probably would not do an outline here because we are already delineating with the difference. And really what we want to do is as simple as possible, make it very clear that who it is, and that's what we've done. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you send me pictures of what you make.